My block's ready to carve, and I'm going to start by carving away any area of my image that I want to be the color of my paper. And in my case, my paper is going to be off-white or white, and I'm going to utilize the color of the paper in the image and in the composition. So that's all I'm going to be thinking about as I'm carving this first section. Here I'm using a lumber crayon and a piece of clear print architectural paper, which is somewhere between a tracing paper and thin vellum, to pull the texture off of the print and to see some of the details of my block without inking it up and getting it all covered with ink. Once you're ready to print, you need to create an area to ink up your block, and if you don't have a piece of glass to roll your ink out on, you could certainly use a piece of wax paper, freezer paper, or plastic cling wrap taped to your counter or table. And we are all going to be using the Aqua water-based ink, water and soil-based ink that Gabrielle and Amy sent you home with. It tends to be quite a bit looser than the oil-based ink that you may be familiar with, but the really nice part about this is that it is fairly non-toxic, as well as water-soluble while it's wet, so you can clean it up with water and a paper towel very easily. You can use a popsicle stick or something like a Q-tip popsicle stick, plastic spoon, to retrieve the ink from the little container. A little bit will go a long way, and here I am rolling out the ink on my glass slab. I had a little bit too much on there at first, so I scraped it up, and I've got it to a nice kiss texture. So you don't want it to be like orange peel, you don't want to over ink your block, you'd rather be better to under ink it and have to put more coats on it as you go along. This ink is really great in that you can clean it up with soap and water, and it has a very long open working time, so that it's not going to dry like other water-based inks on your roller or on your glass or on your block when you're in the middle of printing. It will only dry when it touches the paper. That said, if it gets on the outside of the container or on your table, it can be spread all over the place. So you do need to be cautious with that, as it will stain and won't dry. So be aware of where that ink goes. I'm using a couple of different types of barons to allow me to apply a nice even pressure when I'm hand printing my blocks. So the first baron was made by my friend, the late David Moore. It's a lovely baron made out of wood. And then I made up another baron with the lid of my Hydro Flask water bottle, and it has a handle on it, and I was able to modify it with a circular piece of linoleum that I happen to have that fit just inside the recessed part of the lid, and I put a piece of circular BFK in there as well, and then I wrapped the whole thing with a mismatched sock, so that allowed it to be kind of padded, and it worked just fine. When you're making an addition from a reduction relief block, you print all of your addition at once. So I have printed all of the paper that I've prepared, and I have about 10 sheets of good Japanese paper and about 6 or 7 pieces of newsprint that I've printed in yellow. So now my prints are drying, and I'm going on to clean up my ink, and then I can go start carving some more from my block. Cleaning up the ink is quite simple. You certainly can save it in some plastic wrap for later, and it'll just clean up with soap and water, and you'll be ready to go on to the next step. So I will see you soon.